Hey, what's up, guys? Here's lesson number 2, how to determine the x and y intercept from a linear equation. We'll be going over how to find the x and y intercepts from all three forms. That includes slope-intercept, standard, and point slope. All right, so the first one we're doing is from slope-intercept. So you can tell that this is in slope-intercept form. Because it's in y equals m times x plus b. Now, to find the x-intercept, we know that the x-intercept is written as x comma 0, where y is 0. Now, given our equation, y equals 3x minus 5, we're going to substitute 0 for y. So substitute 0, there we go. 3 times x minus 5. And now, since we know y is 0, we need to solve for x. So we're going to start doing our inverse operations. So I need to do the additive inverse first. Move this 5. So negative 5 plus 5 gives me a 0 pair. What I do to one side, got to do to the other. 0 plus 5 gives me 5. It's equal to 3x. Now at this point, I'm going to use the multiplicative inverse and divide by 3. Divide this by 3, which gives me that my x-intercept is 5 over 3. You could write it as 5 over 3 comma 0, or get the decimal, which is 1.66, with the little bar, comma 0. Now we're going to find the y-intercept. Again, you should know just by looking at it that it is negative 5, since that's our b. But if you want to do it by hand, we got y equals 3x minus 5. The y-intercept is always written as 0 comma y, where x is 0. So this time we're going to substitute the 0 into the x. Now we simplify at this point. 3 times 0 gives me 0. Drop down to minus 5. At this point, 0 minus 5 gives you negative 5. So our y-intercept is negative 5, or you could write it as 0 comma negative 5. Alright, since we know our x and y intercepts are the following, the x-intercept is 5 over 3 comma 0, and the y-intercept is 0 comma negative 5. I could sketch my graph. Now remember that if you have a graphing calculator such as Desmos or the other ones I told you could use, you could just graph these equations and find the x, y intercepts using the graph. So use your resources that you have. But here's my graph, pretty sloppy looking, but I know my y-intercept is 0 comma negative 5, so I'm going to go down to 0, negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll put my point right here. Now I know 5 over 3 is equal to 1.66, so that's about right there. So at this point I could draw my line, and it looks something like that. Now again, I repeat, make sure you use your resources, your graphing calculators that I said you could use, such as Desmos, to graph these equations to easily find the x and y intercepts of your linear equations from all three forms. Alright, next type of form, determine the x-intercept and the y-intercept of 2x minus 7y equals 10. This equation is in standard form. Ax plus by equals c. So with this equation, we're going to go ahead and find the y-intercept, which is written as 0 comma y. X is the 0. So 2x minus 7y equals 10. I'm going to substitute 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify. 2 times 0 gives me 0. So when you're doing these yourselves, you could choose to ignore the 0 because anything subtract 0 is going to stay the same. So this gives me negative 7y is equal to 10. Now at this point, we're going to use the multiplicative inverse again to divide by negative 7. Divide this by negative 7. So we know that y is equal to 10, negative 10 divided by 7. Or you could write it as 0, 10 over 7. Or 0, negative 1.42. Now we're going to find the x-intercept. So again, the x-intercept is x, 0, where this time the y is 0. So write down our equation, 2x minus 7y equals 10. 2x minus 7 times 0, because I substituted my 0 for my y. Now again, negative 7 times 0 gives us 0, so I don't got to worry about it no more. 2x is equal to 10. Divide by 2 on both sides using the multiplicative inverse. X is equal to 5, or my x-intercept is 5, 0. Determine the x and y-intercept of y plus 10 equals 2 times the difference of 4x minus 6. Now this is our last form. This is in point slope form. Point slope. Because it's in this form, minus y sub 1 is equal to m, which is the slope, times x minus x sub 1, where this 10 and negative 6 represent the point 6 minus 10. Now, more on that later, but to go ahead and find the x and y-intercept, we're going to go ahead and start off with the y-intercept. Again, y-intercept is 0, y. So y plus 10 is equal to 2 times 4x minus 6. Now, the first thing I would like to do is get rid of these parentheses. So we're going to use the distributive property to multiply and distribute that 2. So I'm going to drop this down because we don't do anything on the left side. So 2 times 4 gives me 8x. 2 times negative 6 gives me negative 12. Now that this is simplified, I'm going to substitute my 0 into my x. So y plus 10 is equal to 8 times 0 minus 12. And again, 8 times 0 gives me 0, so I'm not going to worry about it. It gives me 0. So I'm going to drop everything else that's left over. Now I need to solve for y. So I need to get rid of this 10. So the inverse of adding 10 is to subtract 10. Subtract 10 over here. Y is equal to negative 22. So our y-intercept is 0, negative 22. Alright, now we're going to find the x-intercept of this equation. So remember, the x-intercept is written as x, 0, where 0 is y. So y plus 10 is equal to 2 times 4x minus 6. I need to get rid of these parentheses, so I'm going to multiply using the distributive property. So 2 times 4 gives me 8x. 2 times negative 6 gives me negative 12. Is equal to y plus 10. Now I'm going to substitute 0 into my y. So 0 becomes y. Zero plus 10 gives me 10 is equal to 8x minus 12. Now I'm going to solve for x. So I got to get rid of this term over here. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides to get the x by itself. That gives me 0. 10 plus 12 gives me 22. That's equal to 8x. Lastly, I need to remove the coefficient of x. So I'm going to divide by 8. I'm going to divide by 8 over here as well. 8 divided by 8 gives me 1. 22 divided by 8 gives me 11 over 4. It's equal to x. Or you could write the x-intercept as 11 over 4, comma 0. Or as 2.75, comma 0. Again, thanks for watching. Please make sure you complete the Google form that goes with this video. Please leave a like and a subscribe. Thanks again for watching.